So today we have Vinod, a distinguished IT leader with almost 25 plus years experience leading global teams and multi-million dollar tech transformations at big giants like Fidelity, MassMutual, State Street, all the big ones in the Boston area, it looks like. And most recently, Vinod served as a fractional CTO for Stonepeak. He holds master's degree from Harvard, Wharton CTO certification, and data science certification from MIT. Vinod brings deep expertise in AI, cloud data platforms, transformative projects in finance and environmental services. So let's start. I think it's a great resume. I would love to hear your thoughts on some of the things that is happening in the AI world. So I'll start with the basic introduction, let you chat about what do you think the AI is, or what is the role of AI in enterprises in general, you think, and what CTOs and CIOs should be thinking about in terms of how to adopt them.
Absolutely. First of all, Rejith, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to speak here. And thanks for that kind introduction. See, everyone is talking about AI, right? Every small forum, the large forum you go, everybody is talking about AI, co-pilots, chatbots, Gen AIs, MCP servers, multimodality, and so on, right? But the uncomfortable truth, today's topic is mostly around data platforms and stable business engines. AI doesn't just run on these hypes, right? It runs on data, right? And not just the data, but it's a reliable, trusted, and secure data, right? So if you are a CIO, CTO, or a business leader, you probably already been thinking like, what's my AI strategy, or what's our AI strategy? But the question you should be putting back to yourself is my data platform AI ready? That's where you draw a line between innovation at scale and pilot projects dying quietly, right? You see a lot of companies spending way too much time on pilots, but they're not taking them to enterprise scale. To answer your question, when we say AI ready platform, we're talking more than technology. It's about the foundation that you need to build. Like I said, data should be reliable, it should be accessible, you should have good guardrails, the data should be secure. That's where AI can actually deliver value. The main thing is clean and trusted data, right? Because AI is only as good as data. You must have heard about it several times, right? If your data is messy, siloed, fragmented, incomplete, AI models will only amplify those problems. AI is more like a multiplier, right? If you have bad data, it's going to multiply and give you the bad results. If you have good quality data, it's going to multiply and give you positive benefits, better return on investment, and all of that. So that's something that the leaders really have to keep it in mind. And the second thing that I want to talk about is modern architecture, right? Scalable, interoperable systems. Think like data fabrics, Microsoft fabrics, data fabric lakehouse concepts, APIs for integrations, compute and storage separation. So you move fast without breaking if you adopt into this modern technology. You can still implement AI on the older ones, but I would say modern technology is going to be a little bit more seamless than working on the traditional platforms. The third important thing that I want to talk about, Rejith, is the governance and security. If you do not have governance, if you do not have the capabilities for lineages and access controls and proper guardrails, it is not only innovative, but with those things, AI can be more innovative, and you will end up building responsible AI, ethical AI with the right compliance. One thing I want to mention, I have seen in my previous organizations, and even while speaking with a lot of leaders in the industry, is that many people they have quality data to a lot extent. They have decent governance with the security, data at rest, encrypting data at rest, encrypting data in transit, access controls, all that kind of stuff. But one thing I noticed missing a lot is the cataloging aspects of it. A lot of the organizations do not have proper cataloging with their metadata and all of that. They don't have labeling, they don't have tagging, they don't have organization specific glossary and enrichment, the right mapping with industry nomenclatures and terminologies and things like that. To me, that is essential for AI. Right? That's where you need to adopt into things like Purviews and Colibras and Unity cataloging from Databricks. That's one thing that with that, you will have the explainability, you will have a right semantic search, scalable adoption across the enterprise.
Again, if the data is not good, AI is not going to, it can make it worse sometimes, right? Now, the question is, can AI help in that? So let's say I don't have the right data. Can AI help to fix that?
It can. See, what I'm noticing is it's not like implementing AI on top of a good quality data and well-governed data. You have a lot of inherent AI capabilities in all these modern technologies like Informatica or Fivetrans. When you build the pipelines, even Salesforce, these platforms they have enabled a lot of AI capabilities. Right? Previously, data was traversing from source to target with many hops, delaying the SLAs, because of the lower compute capabilities and things like that. But now, a lot of modern platforms have overcome those difficulties. Right now, people are talking about near real-time data or even predicting the future data. Right, in many organizations, it's like people are talking the data as it is happening right now. So those capabilities are unlocked with some advancements in these technologies and tools that enable the pipelines and things like that.
Awesome. And I think when it comes to from an implementation perspective, the good news is if you're using Azure or AWS or Google, they do have private managed model hosting. So you can leverage that, right? So the data will not leave your private account or infrastructure or VPC. So you have the option to do that, right? So now let's talk about the tools. I know there is, when it comes to data, Fabric, Databricks, Snowflake come into mind, right? So what's your take on that? How can they help and how are they doing in terms of enabling AI?
Yeah. See, that's one of the hardest challenges the enterprises are facing, right? Speaking with many people in webinars and seminars and various events, that's one thing that organizations are struggling with. Keeping the structured data and unstructured data side by side. So when we say structured data, like it's all well organized in columns and rows in a data warehouse like environment, right? Unstructured data is like PDFs, transcripts, call transcripts, videos, or even IoT logs, right? IoT signals. This is all unstructured. Transaction logs, network logs. All these are like little messy. They don't fit in a table, right? But organizations tend to try to fit all of this data in a table-like format. So that's one common mistake that I'm seeing. First, don't force everything into warehouse. You leverage the modern technology, right? If you try to fit everything in a table-like data warehouse table structures, it kills the flexibility, right? A lot of unstructured data remains untouched, right? But AI requires structured data and unstructured data to give you the right outcomes. Dumping all of the data into data lake without governance is also not going to work well. This is where you go with these modern technologies where you can keep structured data and unstructured data side by side, right? Data lake concepts, delta lake concepts, right? Data lake gives you warehouse-like features. Delta Lake gives you asset transactions, schema enforcements. So we have seen in all these modern technologies. So take that. That's one reason why I mentioned the modern architecture as the second thing after clean data as to what our enterprises should be adopting to. Hope I'm answering your question. That way you can keep the scale of a lake, but with the cleanliness and stability of a warehouse. Right. So that's my 2 cents on your question. Basically, if you're talking about a fraud model, right? For example, if you're trying to detect or train a fraud model, combine structured data coming from your payment systems and transaction systems and things like that, and unstructured data coming from customer complaints and emails and things like that. When it comes to healthcare, take the data, structured data coming from claims tables and also unstructured data coming from MRI scans, doctor's notes, and things like that. So it is exciting. It's an exciting time.
Good. So now let's talk about some use cases, right? So can you touch on some of the use cases that you came across in finance and healthcare?
Absolutely, right. So there are a number of them. I will touch on a couple of them because One of them is dear to my heart because that's something that I have stood ground up at State Street, trade surveillance, right? Capital. So if you take capital markets example, right, with real-time surveillance needs. If you take NASDAQ, they have implemented something called Smarts. Smarts is like not a new thing for NASDAQ. They had it. It was all rule-based like several years ago. Now they implemented from their learning systems, right? It's a shift from surveillance purely rule-based to a learning system that surface about 5 to 10% of the alerts. That truly matters, right? Previously, they were producing a lot of false positives. People were sitting together to filter all the false positives. Now, with all the learning system implementation, they have cut down significantly and they are able to see the alerts that truly matter. So faster intervention, reduced false alarms, fatigue, all of that, right? Their competitors are still, definitely an edge on competitors, right? While competitors are processing like 2 days old data for next 2 days or next 5 days to find out the real alerts, these systems are identifying the problems right when it happens, right? And customers, it doesn't get unnoticed by customers. They see it real time, if not immediately, but eventually they see that. The medical, same thing with the medical system. I don't have a lot of expertise on medical field, but speaking with people, medical imaging is another thing, right? They have a lot of backlog. If you go to a doctor, you get the results 1 week later, 2 weeks later because of the backlogged scans. Now, after implementing AI, some medical companies are able to provide the results like in hours after you go through the scanning. Even the speed at cancer treatments are happening, the delays have been cut down by 50%. So that's what I'm hearing from various people. Definitely AI is adding a lot of value. And we can talk about these things like in supply chains and in insurance claims processing, all of that, right? But those two things come to my mind real quick.
When it comes to privacy, right? When you're talking about enterprise AI solutions,
Yeah.
privacy is a major concern and compliance, right? Can you touch on that, on what your take on that is?
Absolutely. Great question. Basically, privacy is absolutely a central thing for an organization, right? If you want to build a stable AI, build trust, earn trust from customers and regulators, and even from your own employees, you need to implement privacy and you need to focus on privacy. Look, all models are hungry for data, right? If a sensitive customer or employee data is leaked into wrong place, you are not just risking the compliance and fines, you are basically eroding the trust from everyone, right? Stability and consistency are very essential as well on top of this privacy. So I'll touch upon three things when it comes to privacy that quickly comes to my mind. Build privacy into the platform, it's not an afterthought. Right? Use techniques like role-based access, data masking, tokenization, and so on. Right? Put some secure enclaves so sensitive data never leaves the controlled zones. That's one thing. Build privacy into platform. Use governance. We talked about governance, cataloging, purviews, Colibras, Unity cataloging. That's another thing that can be used for the purpose of privacy implementation. Adopt privacy to preserve AI. Right. So when I say that, think about federated learning and think about synthetic data. Differential privacy, you might have heard about it. For some of the implementations are going through differential privacy, data masking. So these are implement these things while you train and innovate without exposing your raw data. So basically that's my 2 cents. At the end of the day, Rejith, privacy is a break on AI. Right? A lot of people think privacy is a break, putting a brake on AI. It's like putting a seatbelt, right? It allows you to go faster, safely, and gives customers and regulators good confidence that your AI engine can scale well.
Awesome. And I think when it comes to from an implementation perspective, the good news is if you're using Azure or AWS or Google, they do have private managed model hosting.
Yeah.
So you can leverage that, right? So the data will not leave your private account or
Yes.
infrastructure or VPC. So you have the option to do that. So yeah, I like the idea of it's a seatbelt, right? You can now go faster.
Yeah.
which is awesome. So now let's talk about the tools. I know there is, when it comes to data, Fabric, Databricks, Snowflake come into mind. So what's your take on that? How can they help, and how are they doing in terms of enabling AI?
Yeah, it's a very near and dear to my heart. This particular question, great question, right? I get always excited to talk about these platforms. Fabric. I'll start with Microsoft Fabric. It gives you an integrated ecosystem, right? If you are a Microsoft shop with Microsoft technology implementations, whether it's data engineering, AI, real-time analytics, the governance, everything is in one SaaS layer, right? So for AI, that means data scientists and business teams, they work off of the same fabric, endless handoffs, right? That's what in enterprises. So that's one good thing that I see. And then when it comes to Databricks, it has pioneered the lakehouse concept, right? It's designed to handle the structured and unstructured data side by side. And data lake gives acid reliability and time travel and all that kind of stuff. So it means like you can build and train the models directly where the data lives. No massive copying, right? Snowflake is something that I have implemented in my previous organizations on both on AWS and Azure. It's stated as a warehouse. It's more when I implemented several years ago, it was more for analytics and AI platforms and things like that. Now they have invested a lot on AI and they have a lot of AI capabilities with Cortex AI and all of that. They have iceberg tables, they have native ML integrations. They have a great integrations with marketplace with a lot of third-party vendors and things like that. It has the data sharing capabilities with their partners. Snowflake is another wonderful platform. So it depends, right? But there is no choose this versus the other. It depends on your organization's use cases, your ecosystem, your technology stack. But when you talk to most leaders, the question they ask is, how can I implement AI or scale AI without breaking my business? Everybody has their businesses running on certain platforms, right? How I can bring AI without disrupting my ongoing businesses. These platforms matter to answer that question because they quietly solve the problems that kills the AI pilot problem, that kills AI projects with siloed data, lack of governance, and runaway costs and things like that. To summarize in one sentence, I would say Fabric is a winner when it comes to convergence with your BI, data science, governance, and all of that. Databricks is more, it wins with the flexibility, right? Its winning point is its flexibility with structured or unstructured data, streaming data, and all of that. Snowflake is like it wins with the reach. It can easily, seamlessly share the data with their partners and the clients. So that's my take on.
I think the bottom line is it's really good news. Like you're saying, doesn't matter what your favorite platform is, Fabric, Databricks, or Snowflake, they are all AI enabled,
Absolutely.
right? And you should be able to leverage that, right? That's
Mhm.
awesome. So now, when it comes to, we talked about different steps that enterprises can take from to take it from take them from the current maturity level to. So how do you prioritize? What do I do to go from? What is the starting point?
Ask a simple question. Again, this is our topic for today's conversation. Do we know where our critical data lives? Do we know the right use cases that we want to implement? Once you know the use cases, do you have the reliable data, trusted data to solve for those use cases? You don't need to build the entire platform in order to implement AI, right? You what you call high value, low risk items and prioritize them, find out where your data is. And so that's how I would start. Run a data maturity baseline, do audits or assessments across your organization and see where your value is going to be coming from and what kind of data that you have for that value that you want to deliver in near future. The other thing I want to talk about is prioritize the cases by business pain. Identify the pain points, right? Where do you have the right value coming for your business pain points, right? So that's one thing that I want to mention. Basically, think to cost, revenues, and risks. At the end of the day, that's what matters, right? Cost, revenue, and risk. The other thing is identify your AI squad, right? Like it doesn't need to be a huge squad unless you have a lot of funding. Identify, put your squad together, put your center of excellence teams, and have them align the technology to the business objectives and the pain points that have been identified and prioritized. And pick 2, 3 pilot use cases. The ROI, like not in months, just in weeks, right? With all the co-pilots, all the capabilities that are out there, put 4 to 6 weeks time frame. Try to deliver them with hard metrics. KPIs is another thing that the board is interested in, C-suite is interested in, and senior business partners are interested in. Put the hard metrics, show them reduced cycle times, lower false positives, like I said, value, increased revenues, cost optimizations, risk mitigations, faster cash flows, and things like that, right? Show the hard evidence with the hard metrics. The goal isn't is to boil the ocean, right? It's a journey, right? You start slow, you to identify the low risk and high value use cases, experiment it, and once you have gained the confidence, you try to productionalize it, right? Take it to the test environment, test it, pre-production, and then take it into production and keep monitoring it. So that's my 2 cents. Is to create a flywheel, assess the maturity, win quickly where it matters most, then reinvest in strengthening the foundation. That's what I would say. That's how AI moves from pilot to a project.
Thanks, Vinod. Thanks for joining us. So I'll provide the Vinod's profile link in the description. And I think the takeaway is your journey can start today. If you have any questions on any of the topics we discussed, please reach out to Vinod or me in LinkedIn. We'll be happy to jump on a Zoom call and chat about it. It's an exciting time to lead a team, no matter what your role is. AI is real and it's going to stay. If there are any questions, please reach out. Thanks again, Vinod.
Thank you, Rejith.